Hello, my name is Taya Graham, and welcome to the Police Accountability Report. As you know, on the show, we focus on police malfeasance and the politics that bolster it. And one of the more problematic areas we continue to hear about from you, our viewers, is police mistreatment of the mentally ill. And we have an exclusive interview and video of the abuse of a mentally ill teenager. But before we get started, I want you watching to know that if you have evidence of police misconduct or brutality, please share it with us, and we might be able to investigate. Please reach out to us. You can email us tips privately at par@therealnews.com and share your evidence of police misconduct. You can also message us at Police Accountability Report on Facebook or Instagram, or at Eyes on Police on Twitter. And of course, you can message me directly at Tejas Baltimore on Twitter or Facebook. And please like and comment. I do read your comments and appreciate them, and you know I even respond to them too. Now, back to business. Last year, we told the story of Shelley Tilson, a man who was suffering a mental health crisis but was jailed and subsequently died from dehydration as prison guards watched. As this disturbing video shows, Shelley was ignored for days as he pleaded for help and was left to die naked, afraid, and alone. But Shelley's case is not the only example of how law enforcement fails to not only adequately handle people who are experiencing psychological duress, but they sometimes make things even worse. And there is no better example of this premise than the trials endured by Valentina Gloria. The 19-year-old Arizona teen was arrested after she punched a nurse during, as you guessed, a mental health crisis. But it's not the arrest that makes this story so troubling. It's what's happened as a result of it that makes this case an example of all the things that can go wrong when the law enforcement and the mentally ill mix. To show you what I mean, take a look at this video. This is footage from the solitary confinement section of the Maricopa County Jail last year, a men's prison, no less. It shows not just the restraints and the dehumanizing bondage Valentina Gloria was subjected to, but how just the act of going to the bathroom became an opportunity for humiliation. Let's watch for a moment.
Excuse me.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool. We'll do it all. Yep.
In the stats, as well as P3 and P5, any movement in and out that you've had, please locate that in the stats. Thank you.
It is very simple.
Go ahead and get up, go to the bathroom.
We'll get you some. We'll get you some toilet paper. Go ahead and use the bathroom.
You want a pantry?
You can get it.
Okay.
Are you sure? You want to walk around?
Yeah.
What you doing, Gloria?
In the bathroom. Yeah? Yeah.
Okay. Male staff stepping out again.
You want to grab those things? What did I get off?
Okay, I don't know. You gotta move more center, you know that. Okay, scooch down. Okay, go ahead and scooch over to the left a little bit. My way. Your hips. Lay back and go to the right.
It's cold.
I know,
That's how we get it off, though.
but that's how we got it. Come on, Gloria. I know it's cold, but you gotta move your arms up and over. You know that. Gloria. Do it.
What? No! 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 No!
Scooch up. Gloria, scooch up.
Scoot your body in.
Just leave her where she's at. We could readjust those restraints.
Yeah.
That's a 3. Stop fighting, Gloria.
Why you gotta
Hey, give me a spit mask. Give me a spit mask. Gloria, stop spitting. Where'd you get you?
Yeah, on my face.
Got you?
Good?
She get.
If I have anything on my...
It's on your back, yeah. Okay. Hoffman, out. Garcia, out. Inmate Gloria was placed into a spit mask due for officer safety due to her demeanor and her spitting.
But the crux of this story is not just about disturbing images and the perhaps excessively punitive treatment of a mentally ill teen, but how this all started. Why did the Arizona authorities take such extreme measures? What prompted officials to incarcerate a young woman who was obviously under mental duress? Stephen, can you fill us in on some of the details?
Well, like many of these cases, it was a minor interaction with both people and law enforcement. Initially, it all started with just when she was suffering a severe mental health crisis and assaulted a healthcare worker. But then that was heightened, as you can see in the video. She is then accused of spitting on a police officer, and that becomes a felony charge. The charge against the charge of assaulting the healthcare worker, which is interesting, was dropped because she was suffering a mental health crisis. But the charge against the police officer were not. And that's why we're talking about this, because they are continuing to pursue charges against her because of spitting on someone when you can clearly see in the video, this young woman is suffering from tremendous emotional and psychological distress. And what she did has been turned into a long-term criminal case. And that's why she's still, well, she's not there, but that's why she spent so much time in prison.
And there should be some room for when someone is suffering a mental health crisis, that some of their behaviors should be excused. Like, for example, when she was being held down and she spat towards those police officers. Isn't there supposed to be some sort of discretion or leeway given when someone's having a mental health crisis versus being, of sound mind and body?
But in some sense, in our society, the new untouchables are police officers. Any interaction with police officers can be turned into a monumental case. And I think in this particular case, that's what we're looking at.
So again, we seem to hear a common refrain when law enforcement encounters the mentally ill. A small, otherwise minor infraction turns into a lengthy and often destructive encounter. Nearly 2 million people with mental illness are sent to jail each year. And according to Maricopa County spokesperson Mosley, 23% of inmates in Maricopa jails are suffering from untreated mental illness or chronic mental health issues. Even wellness checks, sending police to check on the mental health of a person, can lead to disaster. We had the opportunity to speak with Valentina herself, the young woman who was held by police in restraints. And we want to give her a moment to speak for herself, because in that video, she is voiceless and no one is speaking for her or to her, only at her. So we want to give her a moment to speak for herself. Let's listen. And now to discuss how this all happened and the consequences for the people who are suffering because of it, I'm joined by Valentina's mother, Vangelina Gloria. Vangelina, hello, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you.
So, Vangelina, first, tell us a little bit about your daughter. What is she like, and what led her into this situation?
Well, Valentina is awesome. At the time, she had been taken to a 16.9 facility with her CBI team. And
what's a 16.9 facility? I'm sorry?
It's a residential treatment center.
Okay, thank you.
So she was supposed to be taken there. So she was taken there, and then she had an incident at the treatment center where crisis was supposed to come out, and the police were called at the same time. So guess who came first?
Right, the police.
Police came,
yes.
And crisis came also, but they helped de-escalate the situation where they took her to the facility where she then assaulted the staff member, and then she was taken. she gets bypassed because of her mental illness, and they know her history. So they do not take her to intake. They automatically take her to Lower Buckeye, which is the male facility, because they have the behavioral health unit, is what they're saying. It's a behavioral health unit
Okay.
facility. I don't believe it's a health facility. I believe it's actual jail with guards running it. As you can see in the video, it's called Correctional Health Services, is what I was told through MCSO. And they're the ones who were supposed to be handling Valentina the whole time. But as you can see in the video, it's clearly the guards that are handling her that are mistrained. And for Valentina to have to even endure that was just heart-wrenching to watch. When the prosecutor had told me that these were the charges and that they had a video and that it was pretty bad, but I thought it was something different. When I seen my daughter tied down,
Right.
and they said she was combative, not responding to officers. And when I watched that video, it was just clearly not what I was being told. I feel that she was trying to follow directions as best as possible. She has the autism spectrum, which from 2016 through doctors. And I just feel like she had a sensory overload and she was trying to do her best. But just to see the way she was treated and handled, it was the worst feeling in the world. As a parent, you just want to protect your children. I'm a mother of 6 kids, and to watch one of my children be treated like that was the most awful feeling in the world.
I know it must have
Wouldn't
been
wish that on
incredibly.
anybody.
I know it must have been incredibly painful. Just out of curiosity, have you been able to get any feedback from the guards, the people who were there that put their hands on your daughter Valentina? Have you been able to ask them, would you want this done to your child? Have you been able to speak to any of them?
So I was not allowed to talk directly to the guards that handled my daughter, but I did go to MCSO, the Bureau of Investigations, twice on this matter. The first time I was told that they would look into it, and I did tell them I had a video. And so the only question they had for me was, how did I get this video? They weren't concerned about what was in the video, just of how I obtained it. So I thought that was pretty mind-boggling that they didn't care what was happening in the situation. When I went over the video the second time with one of the lieutenants, because I felt the first time I wasn't heard, I went in the second time, and the officer, the lieutenant, 2 of them came in and watched the video with me, and he told me to point at where I felt she was being mistreated. I pointed out through the whole video, and he didn't see it. And I asked him, which you had just asked me, I asked him, do you have children? Would you want them to be treated like that? And he wouldn't answer me. It was Lieutenant King, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I did leave messages for Sheriff Penzone, who is our sheriff in Arizona from Maricopa County. I went down to his office twice, left multiple messages. I even had the councilman from my District 8, Carlos Garcia. No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, I can't remember.
That's okay if you don't remember their name. That's fine.
But he was just so helpful. He opened the doors to Puente, which helped me get into having this agency advocate on behalf of my daughter, which they helped get rallies going down to the county attorney's office to try to get the charges dropped, or at least her into a facility. And we were successful to get her into a facility. I mean, it took a really long time, but we did get her into one.
So tell me, how
it took
long?
9 months.
How long? Just for our audience to hear, how many months did she spend in that jail, in that behavioral health unit?
The last time was 9 months.
So she spent 9 months. So what we saw in the video, room like that, is that the type of space that she was held in? What kind of?
Yes, that was the kind of cell she was held in 24/7 for the 9 months.
I know your daughter has a public defender, and what did the public defender say about these charges, especially the assault of the police officer? How does your public defender see those charges playing out, and do they think they will be dropped?
So the first public defender told us that there was a plea deal. I believe it was for like 3 years. And I told my daughter she was not allowed to take that. The second public defender said she used a word for it, but it was like it was a special case, basically.
Okay. You know, with
That she didn't know how it was going to play out, that we just had to just wait to see what happens, basically, to see if they proceed with the charges or they drop the charges. We're hoping that they drop the charges based on that she was supposed to be in the correctional health unit.
Right.
And based on what I've heard is and I'm not justifying it, I'm just saying that with people with autism and mental illness, they're saying that if she assaulted a staff member, that they're more tolerable, I guess, to their situation because they're more understandable and then they're more trained to handle people in that situation.
it does seem to make sense that if they knew that she was having a mental health crisis, that they knew that she was on the autism spectrum and that she suffered from bipolar disorder and these other issues, that her acting out should be treated differently, shouldn't be classified as a crime in the same way as it would be if I suddenly decided to spit at a police officer, right? That she should be treated a little bit differently.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. Clearly in the video, like I said, when she spit, I don't think she was trying to assault the officer. I think she was just trying to grab their attention. I mean, just watching the video, I just seen her go up, go down, and just like so many directions were aimed at her and just seemed really confusing for me. And I could only imagine her, especially with all her symptoms and diagnosis. I couldn't even imagine how she handled that.
Now, just so we know for sure, what is Valentina charged with now? Because I know she was originally charged with 2 felonies, and then later the prosecutor's office cited Valentina's mental state as a justification for dismissing the felonies. But the office is still prosecuting her on 2 counts of assault by prisoner with bodily fluids. And these are 2 counts of aggravated assault, which also appear to be related to spitting. Do you know what kind of charges she's still facing and what kind of punishment she might receive if she's convicted?
I was told that she had the 2 charges, but it was based on the charge from the officer. So when she spit on the officer, it carried the 2 charges against her.
Okay.
So it's not that she did it twice. It's just that incident carried 2 charges.
So let me just ask you this. How is she doing now, and how has this process affected you? I'm sorry. Okay, so we're just having a slight problem in the studio with my sound, so now it's better? Okay, all right, I'm gonna start my question over. You want me to wrap it up? All right. So how is she doing now, and how has this process affected her, and how has it affected you? How is your daughter doing now, and what do you think your next steps are?
So she's doing very well now. She's in a
good.
treatment center in Phoenix. They're very nice to her. She's been working with her team to get into a 23.9, which will be another residential treatment center that will be able to house her 24/7 with appropriate doctors and nursing staff on site, kind of like where she's at now, but more of an opportunity to be outdoors without the closed locked doors. So it's exciting to know that she's moving forward and that hopefully with all the trauma that she experienced from this and everything that she's gone through in the past, that she can get over this, and that we're just here to support her and love her and just see her be successful and move forward.
Absolutely.
And we're hoping that we can get the charges dropped so that she worries about that. And that's what makes me feel really bad, because she doesn't quite understand the process. And it kind of breaks my heart to know, like, she says she didn't try to hurt anybody, and just to know that she was trying to defend herself and this is the way she was treated, especially because when she was at the 16.9, she went there inpatient so that she could get the help that she needed.
Right.
And then to be taken out of there 2 days later and thrown in jail for 9 months, I can't understand how that is going to help her in her process. And so she has a lot of trust issues with people and her team. So we're just hoping she can move past that and be successful with her. She's getting a new team starting soon. So we're hoping with that new team, she'll have a great impact on being successful moving forward.
Well, we certainly hope so as well. And we hope that sharing your story and your daughter's story will help make sure that no one else's child has to go through this kind of process. Because like you said, she willingly went inpatient to get treatment, and instead she ended up spending 9 months in jail in a men's prison. So we want to make sure that no one else's child has to go through the type of trauma that she's experienced.
No, I wish that nobody's child should have to go through that. I was told that while she was there, as young as 17-year-olds were being held in that same area being treated the same way. And I just can't imagine. My daughter's 20 and she had to endure that. And I can't imagine somebody's baby being 17 going through that. So I just wish that when people got locked up, that they weren't looked at as a number, or they are somebody's loved one and they do mean something to somebody. And just for the way they get treated is not fair. They're in there for a crime that they did or for a punishment, but not to be punished more than from the officers is just wrong.
Right. The hard truth is the disturbing images and personal pain we've witnessed today mask a larger problem, our unique inability to deal with complex human problems. And it's not just an issue of money or resources, but instead it's a matter of politics. Let's face it, the US government has no problem spending trillions on fighting wars. Why can't we provide resources to treat people who are suffering at home? The truth is, we have disinvested in the human infrastructure to deal with people struggling with mental illness, and law enforcement, as omnivorous as ever, has stepped in to fill the void. But as the video shows us, this is not just a bad fit, but it's a woefully inadequate solution. It is, in a way, an extension of the cruel tentacles of income inequality, the result of concentrated wealth that creates a system that matches suffering with cruelty and pain with indifference. I mean, think about it. How else can we explain the horrid conditions that we see in these videos? Like many other examples of government dysfunction we featured on this show, a complex human problem becomes fodder for law enforcement, a quick way to fill a jail cell or book an arrest or impose a fine to make a person a problem, all while offering easy narrative to justify the neglect and cruelty that accompanies it. I want to thank our guest, Evangelina Gloria, for sharing her and her daughter's story with us. We wish you both the very best in getting the fairness and justice that you need. Thank you so much for your time, Evangelina.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. You guys have a great day.
Thank you, too. And I'd also like to thank my co-host, Stephen Janis, for his invaluable help in this investigative report. And I'd also like to say thank you to Noli D for helping connect me with Evangelina and to share her story. As always, Noli D is doing her best to help me keep police accountable. And if you have evidence of police misconduct, please email us privately at par@therealnews.com, and we might be able to investigate. And please watch, like, and comment. You know I read your comments and appreciate them, and whenever I can, I respond too. My name is Taya Graham, and I want to thank you for joining me for the Police Accountability Report.